Okay, so now it's time for the washing stage of the preparation. Um, I have a bowl of cold water. You shouldn't use warm water because resin warps under warm water, so make sure to keep it lukewarm. And I also have some non-abrasive fairy liquid. Now, you can probably use other brands too. I would avoid using anything really chemically because, of course, it is reactive resin, so it might damage it. But I have very liquid, just regular, and I'm putting in about, I don't know, a good amount, um, not too much though, and just basically whisk it up using anything you're going to use. So I'm using a toothbrush here, so make sure it's all whisked properly, and then all you're doing is basically, um, you are supposed to soak these, by the way, the resin. You're meant to soak them in the water for like a few days, but I find that's incredibly unreasonable and it's not really needed. All you need to really do is just scrub them like this. But really, you want to spend a good few minutes on each piece. I'm going to quickly talk about how I do this and then I'm going to speed up the footage afterwards. How I approach this is I like to make sure that, um, eyeballing this, there's no release grease here, which is nice, but it could be there without me knowing it. And I have had that happen before where it doesn't look greasy, but then it is when you spray the model in primer. So definitely don't not do this stage, just don't do it as incredibly much as you think you should. Um, Anything's fine, anything that's not incredibly abrasive, a toothbrush and that sort of thing. Um, People say that you can use metal scrubs, like metal wire, but personally, on like these £100 models, I don't like doing that because just the idea of it hurts my head. So I think it's just worth taking the long and hard route rather than the easy and short route. But you might be different. So I'm just scrubbing down the whole model. I'm getting it prepped, ready to dry off and stuff. I will be soaking them as I go along too, to make sure that they're okay. You probably don't have to soak them. It helps, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also a lot of time that you could be spending painting instead. And I definitely prefer painting to this, so yeah, I'm gonna get through this bit now. If there's anything I have to add, I'll add it as I'm speeding up the footage. So yeah, I'll see you guys afterwards, okay? I just wanted to add that if you put your model into the water and you notice mine aren't so far, but if you notice wispy white lines coming into the water from your model, then that's the mold release agent leaving, or the grease as people call it. So if you see that, then definitely scrub a lot harder because it means that your particular model has a lot of grease on it. So just thought I'd say that because some people might be confused if they see like wispiness on their model. That's not the actual. I've seen people think that's the resin and panic. It's not the resin. It's just the release agent coming off in the water. So yeah, don't panic about it. Just take it as a sign more than a warning. Just scrub a lot more basically than you would have done before. And of course, soak it for a lot longer too. Definitely in the connections where glue will be, the release agent will stop the glue from binding, so it's probably more important on the bits you won't see to scrub really well. Then of course, soak it for a while, and that should be it really. You don't need to do a whole lot. There's no chemicals, there's nothing fancy, just make sure it's, nice and clean, not greasy, and you should be fine. If you have an extra dirty model, you might need to change out the water more than once, but that's rare. I've seen people who have very, very dirty models and they need to have more than one bucket of water because it gets so dirty. But that's not common, so I wouldn't worry about that. You'll also find that when I'm done doing this, any of those you may have been really angry when I was doing the finishing touches on them on the preparation stage, where there was still a lot of wispiness and dust and stuff. This should help with that. When it dampens down the dust, it will fall into clumps and clump together, where it's easier to remove. That's also a tip for cleaning, by the way. Definitely use a damp cloth for dust, resin dust, because the damp dust doesn't float in the air and doesn't get in your lungs. Whereas if you use a regular towel and you just don't dampen it and you just let it hang around, then you're basically just scrubbing the dust everywhere into your lungs and basically disturbing the dust again. So definitely make sure to use a wet towel or cloth or whatever you're using. One last thing I would say about the cleaning, and especially soaking, is that when you're soaking your models, make sure that they're all submerged, because if I did it like this, then that top part isn't actually submerged, so it won't get the effects. You will end up with a very patchy model, so make sure it's fully submerged. I don't think it makes any fumes, so you don't have to worry, I don't think, about reactions taking place when you're soaking them, so I think it's okay to have them in the house. I've done that before. It definitely doesn't smell weird, so that's a good sign. With the smaller pieces, you can pretty much just leave them to soak. That's what I did with my Titan. It's been working fine so far. Okay, so now that the scrubbing part's done, you can do more if you want to. I don't usually do much more than this though. I'm just gonna let this soak for a few hours now, and I'll be back to you guys when it's done. Okay?